Massachusetts chapter of the Progressive Art Society. So currently we have around 80 members, and of course, looking to expand our membership and expand what we have happening here in the state. And so some things you'll get with a membership are access to this series. Eventually our goal is to just provide the link to view this to our members. And then of course there's PASIC, which I'm not sure if PASIC will be happening in November, but it's the largest convention of its time in Indianapolis, Indiana. So you have a big discount as a member to attend PASIC. And then we have local events in Massachusetts that you'll be able to attend for free. We do a day of percussion at Berklee College of Music, where we really have some amazing artists present and concerts. And PAS offers a free trial and a group membership. And I'll send the code. The code for the trial is a little later in this presentation. You'll be able to go back. It's recorded on YouTube, so you'll be able to go back and check that out. So it's a 90-day free trial. So no matter what, you'll have access to all of these webinars if you do that free trial. Also, there are group membership options. And then with membership, you have access to all of the material on pas.org. Certainly there's a lot out there online, both free and paid for, as far as information, way more so than even 5 years ago, as far as video lessons and things to check out. But there's a real wealth of information on pas.org to check out. So about us, the Massachusetts chapter, Tom Schmidt, president. Eric Huber is our vice president, and Andre Sonner is the treasurer. And we're forming a new committee. And so if you're a PS member looking to be more involved with the chapter, please come join our committee. And really, you can, anything that you feel like is your specialty and that you could add to help us would be great. Just create a title for yourself. Could be something like, social media manager, drum set expert, something like that. Whatever you feel like you could contribute would be great to have you. And the idea is that we'll have the regular meetings. Probably these days we've been having our meetings online on Zoom. But every few times a year, just check in. Everyone can have some assignments to help out with future events. And you could have a voice in shaping what's happening in your state. So once again, some titles could be student delegate, drum set hobbyist, marketing manager, whatever you see yourself doing, maybe. So this last week, we had our first webinar series with Yaron Israel, and there were some pretty terrible situation that happened. We got hacked, as they call Zoom bomb, but it was like more than a Zoom bomb. It just took over everything. We put some security measures in place, but it was kind of unfortunate. So now we've moved over to YouTube Live, so that what's great is everything will be stored there, and you can just, if you have any questions or comments, write them in the comments on the YouTube page during this time. And I have some other amazing artists lined up for the summer. So the idea is that, get some inspiration from drummers at the top of their field, and they'll give you some practice tips and things to do. And these will be weekly sessions. And like I mentioned earlier, eventually we want these just to be kind of a PAS community thing. So the free trial, the group membership, or just becoming an individual member would get you all that access. Then of course, PASIC, like I mentioned, it's like nothing else in the world. 4 days in Indianapolis, just all the top names in drum set, orchestral percussion, marching. You get a discount with that. And you can also join various committees at PASIC, percussion ensemble committee, drum set committees. And it's worth checking out these websites, pasic.org, all about the convention. And once again, I'm not sure come November if there will be a PASIC this November, but certainly something to look out for. And there's photos, so you can go back to these and kind of see what PASIC is all about. But if you can't make it to Indianapolis, here in Massachusetts, we like to provide some events for percussion. So once again, the annual day of percussion, and then outside events, we'd like to have drum set competitions, percussion ensemble competitions, master classes, or concerts. So if you're an educator and you have some percussionists in your school that you'd like to put together an ensemble and perform and be evaluated, that's something we're looking to do. It's just still up in the air, like everything is, about when we'll be able to do that. But hopefully that will happen next spring, possibly. So it's something to look out for. And if you're, once again, if you're an educator, something you could bring your kids to. And certainly, once again, joining the chapter committee and shaping what we have happening in the state. Going. So these are some options. So individual membership starts at $60 annually. That's, you don't receive any magazines in the mail. You just have access to the online platform, and you have a pretty big discount to attend PASIC, and you can attend anything we have in the States. Then the group membership is for schools and nonprofits that work with children up to grade 12, and that costs $250 annually. And that you have unlimited membership. Anyone that's involved with the group will have access to the website and will be able to attend events and attend PASIC at a discount. So those are two great options. And then, yeah, so unlimited access for that. So it's worth spending some time. You can access a lot on pas.org and learn a lot even without a membership. So it's worth spending some time on that website. And here is the 90-day trial. You see down here the promo code. If you go to pas.org and go under the membership tab, enter your email, and then MTPASDOP2020 is the trial code that will get you 90 free days. So once again, MTPASDOP2020. And if you forget that or you're unable to find it going back on this video, just be in touch with us. And that is all I have to present. So without further ado, I will turn the screen over to my friend Sergio. And now we're all in for a great treat to have him here with us. So thanks. Here's Sergio.
Thank you, Tom, for asking me to do this. For me, it's a great pleasure to be with you today and with all our viewers. So I really want to say cyber greetings to all of you, wherever you are. It's a delicate moment. And like you had said before, some of us are home because our normal agendas have been wiped out. But there's been a lot of coming together during these times. And certainly your efforts doing this, you already did one with the chairman of Berklee College of Music. You run Israel. You'll continue to do these in the summer. Each and every one of us, we've been really coming together and showing the world what type of community we are. And I think it speaks a lot for being proud of what we do. And the reason why I want to talk about pride of being a percussionist and a drummer is because Percussive Arts Society is the only society I belong to, and I'm a proud member. I've been a member since the early 2000s, or maybe the late 90s. You know, some of my teachers at Berklee at the time told me about PAS, and there was a cool magazine at the time. It wasn't online. And really, Modern Drummer and PAS, the magazine, were our link to the world. You know, nowadays we have many, many more resources, but being part of a society, an organization that keeps you informed, that has a central command that filters all of this information that is available now, is extremely important. And I say this because there's a ton of free resources out there. And me as a teacher, oftentimes what I have to do is guide my students and help them to filter this amount of information. And most of the times I have to remind them that we do have some official organizations, some great companies that spend money and resources to make sure that the knowledge is there, available, number one, but it's also the good knowledge. It's so easy for everybody now to say, well, here's my way of playing a mambo groove. But at PAS or other companies that, again, spend time and resources, there's an educational committee. There are people that are expert in some fields and are appointed to share their knowledge. Now, I think it's important for a younger student to be able to listen to the proper message. So the title of my presentation, Do You Speak Drumming? If you think about a language, you know, a person that doesn't go to school or unfortunately grows up in a situation where, you know, there is knowledge around him, unfortunately, he or she might be neglected from having the type of culture that another person in another part of the world or in a different school system has. And so what we want to do here is give everybody a chance to have direct, good knowledge and the materials to be available so that everybody has a chance to be part of something big and learn from the masters. PAS in Indianapolis, to me, the annual convention, I consider that my bottle of vitamins, and that lasts really a whole year. I mean, going to PAS, you come back home re-energized, loaded of information and materials to work, possibly even beyond the year. You know, sometimes I go to the next convention and I'm not done, you know, working on the hands out that I might receive before. So what you guys do, what we do, you know, this is the mass chapter, and then of course think about the states, and then coming together to a national organization is just a phenomenal thing to do. And I encourage each and every one of the viewers now, or the ones that will watch this remotely, to seriously think about, you know, a membership that stands out at $5 a month. Really, that's what it boils down to. It's a cup of coffee a month at Starbucks, and you get access to all of this knowledge. So to me, it's a no-brainer, and I really encourage you guys to do so. Please join PAS.
Thanks, Sergio.
Now, do you speak drumming? So I used a little bit of a provocative title, and I have used that for quite a long time during my travels. It makes people talk, you know. It gives people a chance to, first of all, you know, kind of try to answer the question and then engage in a conversation, which to me is really, really important. So, you know, one answer could be, well, yeah, I happen to speak drumming because this is my instrument, percussion or the drum set. But in actuality, we speak music, right? And music happens to be really a universal language. I was reading the other day a quote. Somebody said, we all smile the same way. We all cry the same way. There are a few things that are universal. And then there are languages that are more based on the geography of where you are or the language itself, the history. But when you think about music, and in particular rhythm, I mean, it's as powerful as it can be. I recall once being at a convention. It was a dentist, a group of dentists coming from all over the world at this convention. And everybody was quiet at the tables, speaking and sharing business cards and this and that. Name tags I could see at the buffet while I was getting my food. France, New Zealand, Australia, Italy, Japan. Everybody was from somewhere else. Now, at some point, the band started to play, and we opened with a dance song. And I recall it to this day. It was Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Everybody got up before the song even started. They got up based on the drum beat, on whatever I was playing on the drums. And it wasn't because of me. I was just copying or trying to copy what Ndugu Chancellor did on the recording. But the power of that simple yet very effective groove spoke to everybody, regardless of their nationality, color, religion, nothing mattered. They all got together and the party got started. So when we're talking about the power of drumming and the language that we speak, it's huge. It really is. And so now, one thing that I like to address is, well, if it is a language, how do we learn it? Because obviously, we're all trying, teachers and students alike, which is kind of the same thing because students teach themselves and teachers continue to study and teach themselves. So I really don't see this big gap between I'm the teacher and you're the student, because I might be teaching you something, but at the same time, I'm a student of something else, and vice versa. When you're a student trying to learn something new, the teacher is not always there in the room. It might be in the room that half hour or 50 minutes during the lesson, but then you're on your own, and nobody can teach you better than you teach yourself. So what I'm trying to say is that we're all students, and we have to remember that if music is a language, and drumming in particular, a powerful universal language. I mean, the drums, the percussion sounds were used to communicate. Before Blackberries and cell phones, iPhones, the bells, had different patterns, still do at some churches to communicate certain messages. Soldiers would announce maybe the coming of enemies from a different town. There was a certain drum beat to alert people to get out of a war zone or a battleground. So, if you think about the power of the musical instruments, the percussion instruments, how do we learn a language? Well, let's be realistic. We got to go back and remember how we learned our first language. For me, it was Italian. Then when I moved here 25 years ago, although I thought I knew English, I kind of had to relearn the whole thing. We'll get to that later. But really, think about how you learn. We don't learn from books in the first place. When we first start learning a language, we just imitate and repeat sounds. First from our parents, then eventually kindergarten, school. We start to copy what we hear from others. So the need of growth is to be exposed to as many people as possible. Eventually we get into school and we learn how to read. Reading, so powerful because it can give us access to so much knowledge. Books and books and books and books. But before we do so, we really imitate sounds. Imitating sounds is the number one asset for a musician. Even when you become a good reader, the way you would want to fine-tune your language skills is by developing the ability of imitating sounds. Because books, as we know, if you get a great book with a transcription of a Brazilian drum set groove, well, the notes are there. They look like a bunch of 16 notes with a few accents. If you play exactly what's written on paper, it's not going to sound like the Brazilian groove that artist intended to notate. And the same could be said, transcribing Steve Gadd or David Garibaldi. The notation is there. When you try to do it, it's not going to sound the same because of those missing elements that I was talking about. So, do you speak drumming? The answer should be yes. I speak drumming, and I want to treat it like a language. I want to go back and really remember and try to analyze how children learn sounds first, and they repeat their first words. And then as we grow, we all have these different incredible influences. So, I could tell you that in Italy, we have so many dialects, and what's remarkable and incredible about is that if you travel 10 miles, not 100 miles, if you travel 10 miles, people have a different accent. There are some words that are quite different between two towns that are only 10 miles apart. So imagine when we're talking about playing Brazilian music versus Cuban music or funk or jazz. Even funk. The funk they play in New York is different than some of the funk they play in Washington, D.C. or down south. To me, it's incredible. And I think eventually we are all fusion musicians. And what I mean by that is not really what we intend as far as fusion, a music style, but being a product of the environment we grew up in and the musical influences, the recordings we have listened to, or we continue to listen to, the teachers we have had. So this language, do you speak drumming or do you speak music? It's all about how much time we invest, how privileged we are, how much effort we put into it. Kids now are on YouTube a lot, listening 20% and filming 80%. That's not good. We want to listen 80% and maybe film 20% to document a little bit and have a little bit of self-evaluation. And why not? We all like compliments. So if somebody gives you a like, it makes you feel better. You go back to the practice room and you want to do better. But there's not enough listening. There is all this me, 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 me. Now, if a kid stays with a group of kids of its age in kindergarten forever and ever and ever, language would not evolve. There wouldn't be any evolution of the language. The only reason you get an evolution of a language is by measuring yourself with others. Traveling. Now, in music, traveling could be done with a set of headphones. One could say, the month of July next month, I'm going to travel to Brazil. While I can't go to Brazil, I can get some playlists, find out who the best Brazilian artists are, and listen to Brazilian music for a full month. I mean, that would be an incredible journey to do. Imagine in 1 year, you could spend a month each in 12 of the major styles. And your playing is going to get better in no time, guaranteed. Because the playing does not have to do so much with the physical part of it, although that is also an important element, no doubt about it. There are some mechanics. You have your coordination to develop, your independence, dexterity, working on your sound, knowing your set. All of those things are important. I don't discuss that, and I don't think anybody would. But the concept, the idea, what we are about to say, what will we say in a conversation is based on the knowledge we have. And then the wisdom. The wisdom is how we apply that knowledge, when we decide to say a certain thing and why. The fact that I might know 5,000 words or 10,000 words does not empower me to use all of those words at the same time or within the same conversation. So having a lot of knowledge is one thing, and it's important. And that is done by measuring ourselves with others, by embracing as much cultural elements as possible, by reading, by traveling musically with our headphones, or those that are lucky going places and trying to imitate, capturing those sounds and bring them home with them. But really, once we have all that knowledge, what's really important is the wisdom. What do I say when I say it? Because as we know, a person who knows the Webster dictionary from memory, there's 40,000 words there, and most people use an average of 4,000 to 5,000. But even if you did know all the words in the dictionary, which ones are you going to use? Some people know lots of words and say stupid things. We know that. And some people maybe didn't study as much, were not as fortunate, but they got the wisdom and the good common sense to. This is why some drummers that are considered the master drummers are not necessarily the ones that are faster on the kit or that have more physical dexterity, but are the ones that have developed that ability to say the right things at the right time. I hope this makes sense, and maybe we can engage a little bit in a conversation. If there is anybody in the chat room that has questions for me, I would be happy to answer or come up with an answer, because that's what teachers do. I've learned, I continue to learn through the questions of my students or my peers, because when you don't have an answer, you will come up with an answer. You have to think about an answer, and that empowers to open your mind and reach new grounds. So what do we have there, Tom? Anybody?
That's great, Sergio. You know, I always some of my favorite lessons and my favorite teachers has just been the conversation. You know, talking about this stuff. So I'm really happy we've got all this down. That was really some amazing information there. So glad you took some time to speak about all that. So it looks like there's five people watching, and you know, a few comments. I've got Marcus from Grooversity, and he'll be presenting next week. But yeah, anyone who's here has a question for Sergio, just write it there in the chat comments, and he'll make something up.
Marcus Santos, my dear friend, what a phenomenal musician. Talking about spreading the knowledge, Somerville, Massachusetts, has this incredible, luck to have Marcus there in the community, parading in the streets, getting people to drum. I've had customers at my shop coming in to buy a drum because they knew that the following week Marcus was going to go out on the streets and everybody was welcome to join and make some noise. This is really what it's all about. And, Marcus comes from a magic land when it comes to rhythm, from Brazil. And I was fortunate to teach a few years at a summer camp up in Vermont. And again, the way you touch the instrument, the way you articulate something that notation-wise would look the same in funk music and in Brazilian music. You take a flow of 16 notes, but the way you articulate that, whether it's on the pandeiro, on the snare drum, on the hi-hat, makes a whole lot of difference. So we really have to use those language skills, not only to speak, but before we speak, step number one is to hear and then try to imitate and repeat those sounds out. To me, that's fundamental. And to this date, that's how I teach at Berklee College of Music or everywhere else. It's hands-on, but we do a lot of listening. I never allow more playing than listening. Never. That would be like talking without hearing anybody else. There's no growth, guaranteed. You got to hear everybody else. Also, it makes your answers conducive, logical. How could I say something meaningful in a conversation if I missed what you had asked me in the first place, or what you said? Does that make sense?
That's great. That's great. So if anyone's getting any questions, feel free to post them. But yeah, maybe, sir, if you want to leave us, we've got an awesome practice pad set up there. If you want to leave us with any kind of something you're working on or something you feel would be helpful for our viewers and for anyone who's going to see this down the road this summer on YouTube.
Sure, absolutely. So the one thing PAS, Percussive Arts Society, is big about is the rudiments. Now the rudiments, the Percussive Arts Society rudiments, you'll find them on the website as part of the free resources. And to me, it's the alphabet of drumming, really. The American rudiments happen to be 26. Now that's the same amount of letters that we have in the alphabet. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a great place to start. It's also an endless journey, because when I want to warm up on the set, I still look at the poster with my rudiments and pick one and decide to go with it, manipulate it, and each time I might come up with something new that I've not done before, or I could ask my students to bring their developments the next week. And over the years, I've heard incredible things. Everybody has their own twist, just based on the same rhythms. Again, they look the same on paper, but you might play them with a totally different feel or a different application. So I'm just going to show you a little something with one of the most popular rudiments, the single paradiddle. And, because it's written in 16 notes, most times people would apply that to music that is based in 16 notes. I hear a lot of funk applications, which is certainly a way to apply the paradiddles when you move them on the drum set. Now, if you swing a little bit those notes, you get a totally different feel. So here's the same rhythm, but instead of playing the notes as is, I'm going to swing them a little bit, and you get into a different arena. It's a different musical style. These are the things that we're encouraged to do. It'd be like, okay, we speak English in Boston. When I learned English in Bari, Italy, my teachers who studied in London had a totally different accent. A, they were Italians from the South. B, they learned it in London. C, the Bostonian is like a totally different language on its own. So when I came here after 8 years, I thought I knew the language, but I really didn't. I couldn't really understand much. Here's a paradiddle with a little bit of a different feel. And if I didn't tell you it was a paradiddle, maybe some of you would know.
That was awesome.
Now, the same paradiddle, if I play it faster and I don't swing the notes, it's going to spell a totally different musical style. So the other important thing is to consider the options you have when it comes to which sounds you have. Now this is a little rubber kit that theoretically has no life and no sound because it's rubber. But even within the rubber, I take it everywhere. I like it because it's light and compact. So sometimes I take it to the park, do some recruiting, get people interested in rhythm, and in the meanwhile, I'm practicing, which is a well-needed and good thing to do. But even the rubber pads, depending on where you touch them, they have a different life to it. So you got choices. Where do you hit them? Leaving space, because that's what we do when we talk. Some of these instruments, you may tend to play over and over because you can breathe while you play. Whereas, vocalists can't. So leaving space is a great thing to do. It's the difference between the robo. If you call an automatic service and in the first 5 minutes before you finally talk to a human being, if you're lucky, all those pre-recorded messages don't sound human. You know you're not talking to a human. The reason why you know is because the spacing in between the words is kind of funny, or there is no spacing. It's all like. So one ability we have copying in languages is to really pronounce things a certain way and imitate the sounds. So I say listen more than playing. Once you go to the instruments, some things will come out naturally. Some others you'll have to work on the mechanical component of it. Find a good teacher. Another great thing about PAS is that it's a network of teachers globally. So if you move, you go to France to study abroad, you reach out to PAS in Paris, and you ask them who are the best teachers in the city. Boom, done. No matter where you are in the world, it's a network of dedicated people that will always guide you to become a better musician. So that's also very, very important.
That's a really good point, Sergio. Yeah, I remember before thinking about grad schools, where I want to go, it was just so easy to reach out to people on PAS. I think especially then those chat rooms were popular, and you get everyone's information. And that was nice as a student just to kind of take lessons with different teachers and get a feel for these different schools. Yeah, that's great. We have one question about rudiments. The question is, how would you apply rudiments to different styles and make sure it has the feel of the particular style?
That's an excellent question. The subdivision would be the first thing that I would address. So if I am playing jazz, for example, the first thing I could do is to look at the rudiments that have a triplet subdivision, because those are going to be a little more conducive to play jazz. A flam accent has already a triplet feel into it. But the truth of the matter is that every rudiment could be manipulated and could be subdivided. So the paradiddle, although it's written in 16 notes, you could play that over a triplet feel, and if you do, it works a little better within the jazz flow. The flam paradiddle, it's definitely, or single paradiddle, those are 16 note driven rudiments. And one might think, oh, okay, they work good with funk. They do, but they could work well with other styles by either changing subdivision or moving the space in between the notes. Because as I said before, the single stroke roll, right? These are all singles, but to make them sound a little more like samba, I can't play them. This might work if you're playing an 80s track with synthesizers or something, that has been quantized. There is music that has this type of subdivision. Even some modern music, I hear a lot of. So I'm playing single strokes, right? The #1 rudiment at the top of the chart. But I'm making sure I pronounce those rhythms to fit well with the rest of the music. But if I'm playing a Brazilian groove and I play like that, the other musicians will probably give me the look and go like, you're really not grooving with us. So, a flam accent spells a shuffle. There's no doubt about it, but doesn't mean I only use it when I play shuffles. Because if I want to use it in a different style of music, I can manipulate the subdivision. If I play taka taka taka. It's 4 of those, I'm playing them over a 16 note feel, but it's still that same sticking and the same pattern. So now all of a sudden sounds funky, but it's the same rudiment that I was using more on a triplet type feel before. So look at subdivisions and the spacing between the notes, and you'll be able to find out that most rudiments work with most styles, probably all with all styles. But, of course, you don't want to force things too much, but typically if I play a samba groove and try to play the other rudiments, I'm going to try to adapt them somehow so that they fit the grid of the samba and the feel of it. So that's how I would do it.
Nice. That's great. Great, Sergio. So I don't think we have any other questions. This has been a real real treat. We had five or six of us checking it out, so it's a nice exclusive little session here. And then what's great is we'll have it recorded on our YouTube page. So
Yeah.
anyone who's here, feel free to spread the word to your students. They can watch it just here on the YouTube page at any time.
Right.
So thanks for being here, Sergio, and
Pleasure.
look forward to maybe having you back another time. And yeah, this was really some amazing information that we can take with us.
Good. And
with the rudiments.
it's there archived soon. Hopefully we can do these things live and have more people with us and continue the conversation. It's a long journey, but it's a beautiful journey.
Yeah, that was a real treat having you, Sergio. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for you taking so much of your time to do this. So Sergio is doing this just out of the goodness of his own heart, kind of get something out there for all of us just staying at home, practicing, and definitely keep in touch with him. He's always sure got some amazing things happening.
And really, guys, one last message, whether you're watching now or you'll watch it later. I am a better drummer today than I was yesterday, than I was 10 years ago, and continuing to do so because I continue to study, take lessons. But what I really wanted to say is that PAS over the years made me a better drummer. Going to the convention, getting the magazine, being part of something, having access to the resources. Just do it. Look, it's really, it's not even, I wouldn't even consider it a paid membership. It's just actually, you want to look at that as a contribution to enhance and improve what we do globally. And there's so much need for music. You'll feel great. You'll feel like you're part of something positive. More kids will benefit from what we do. If members through the years didn't donate, we would have never had an annual convention. If we didn't have an annual convention, I would have never seen Steve Gadd playing live, and that changed my life. Hopefully I'll change the life of some of my students, and the legacy continues. We need to be together and inspire each other. So you're not even paying for something. This is like a lucky pot. Everybody brings something. You throw $5 a month in that bottle, and you actually get so much more because everybody did the same. It's like when you bring one dish at a party, but you taste 15 dishes from 15 different parts of the world. You only brought one. That's really what PAS is all about. You throw $5 a month in that bottle, shake it, and you're a millionaire. You really feel like you're a millionaire because you're part of something huge, really big that I can't say that, words cannot express how I feel.